The referees, guys, nobody ever talks about them really. What's up, guys? Welcome to today's episode. Today's episode is not necessarily about, news in the MMA world or news in the combat sports world. Today's episode is an episode that acknowledges some of the more criminally underrated players, some of the more criminally underrated or criminally underappreciated participants in our beautiful sports. Today's episode is an acknowledgement to the efforts put in by these great men who we don't really appreciate as much as we should. You know who I'm talking about? I am talking about the referees. The referees, guys, nobody ever talks about them really. Right? Nobody talks about them outside the octagon. Nobody really wants to hear what their perspectives are. Unless, of course, they make a bad call and then, whoa, everybody's on the referee's ass. But then, have we really taken the time out to try to figure out or understand or appreciate the kind of pressure those refs go through? God damn, it's a lot of pressure. I'm talking about pressure from the fighters themselves. The refs go through pressure from the cornermen and coaches. The refs go through pressure from the fans. The refs go through pressure from the athletic commission, and the refs go through pressure, they're under pressure from the UFC brass. When you talk about a high tension work environment, that, I believe, is the work environment of a UFC or combat sports referee. And I feel like those guys just need their flowers. You know? They do. They do. They do need their flowers. Every now and then I see a podcast or two or an interview involving some of the more popular referees, and it's quite interesting to see their perspectives on things. I'll give you an example of Herb Dean. I saw an interview of Herb Dean when he went on the Joe Rogan podcast. It was so insightful to finally hear what was going on in his mind, his perceptions about certain things within the fight game, and the whole process of instant decision making, and how the referees prioritize the safety of the athletes and the fighters before anything else. But yet, when they do their job, for the most part, every decision a ref makes no matter how good or how bad, there will always be that element of, did he do the right job? Did he make the right call? Was that a good call? Oh, damn it, that was a bad call. You'll hear all sorts of things on these guys. And quite frankly, some part of me really feels bad for them. You know, I never get to really hear from the referees as fans. It's always more, they go in there, Bruce Buffer makes the announcements with them. We don't get to see what they do behind the scenes. We don't get to see how they do their meetings in the locker rooms of each side. We don't get to see all that. And I really wish that we did. I really wish that the UFC or what's it called? Not the UFC or any other organization or any other fight promotion. I really wish they would take time to personalize the referees so that we get to understand them a little bit more better. We get to humanize them, and by doing so, maybe cut them some slack when they make decisions that we feel, for the most part, as casuals, decisions that do not necessarily align with what we think we've seen, especially during the fight. You know, because I myself, on a number of occasions, I have seen matches where the ref makes a call and I'm like, no, ref, that was a bad call. It was too early. Oh, that was a bad call. It was too late. Okay, well, listen, if I'm being honest, I don't think there's anything as a, damn it, I can't believe I'm about to say this. I don't think there's anything as a bad call that was left for too long. You know, I always feel like the refs, every time, even when it seems like they did a good call, I always feel like they jump in too quick because they're extremely paranoid about fighters' safety. And some of the fighters feel the same way too. Because you find, for the most part, how many times do you see, and of course you see it sometimes, but how many times do you see a situation where the referee jumps in during a flurry of punches or kicks or whatever, jumps in to declare a TKO, and the fighter who's on the receiving end jumps up and says, oh yeah, ref, you got it. For the most part, you find that when that happens, fighters come up protesting. They're protesting, oh no, that was a bad call, blah, 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 blah. They always protest. Fighters are the ones, they're gladiators. So they're the ones who they'll tell you, ref, let me go out on my shield. I can tell you, for instance, Justin Gaethje, in his fight with Max Holloway at UFC 300 for the BMF belt, I can tell you for free that Justin Gaethje preferred to have gone out that way. That if a ref had stepped in to stop those punches before he got slept. That is a crazy kind of mentality to have. That's why I respect fighters. I'm telling you, I respect fighters, but this video is not about them, but I respect fighters. I don't care what I say all the time. I respect fighters all day, every day of the week, of the month, of the year, of the decade. I always respect fighters. They are a different breed of animals. They would much rather go out on their shield than have the ref come in there to save them. Now, put yourself in the shoes of a referee and how you have to always find that little delicate spot between making the right call without necessarily offending the fighter or the crowd or the athletic commission or the UFC. I can't imagine the mental mathematics involved in the split-second decision-making process that goes on in the heads of referees. Those refs, man, you gotta give them some credit. Because that crap ain't easy. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy. We gotta be able to give the refs some credit, something. There's something to be said about when those guys make the right call in that moment, in the middle of that octagon with two people trying to take each other's heads off, with a crowd watching under those bright lights, screaming, chanting, throwing things in the octagon sometimes. Presidents watching, celebrities watching, family members of the fighters are also watching. And you gotta be careful. Bro, I don't know if I can do that job. I really don't. But we are always very quick to talk down on the refs without necessarily appreciating the position that they find themselves in every time they go to officiate a match. And they do this multiple times in one night. Now, if it's a one and done, you go in, okay, one. I mean, it still is a high stress situation. But to have that repeated maybe 3-4 times a night, depending on, your assignment for the night, how many fights you are assigned to. And let's not talk about the pressure of, say, main events, title fights. We can't say these referees don't deserve their flowers. They really do. They do. And I just don't see many people talking about them. And I've decided today that I would love to appreciate them. I would love to point out that the referees deserve our respect, regardless of their decision-making process. Guys, does that make sense? Yes, it does. It really does. And with that being said, I'd like to just acknowledge some of my personal favorite referees in no particular order. In no particular order is this list I'm about to say an acknowledgement that one referee is better than the other, or one referee's professional rating is higher than the other. This is not a referee pound for pound list, not a referee rankings list. It's just a referee's list, of refs that, I've come to appreciate over the years. They have become sort of like the uncelebrated celebrities in the fight game. I'm going to get into another video some other time about the ring girls. The ring girls. Boy, do they make those in-between rounds very, very pleasant to watch. You know what I'm saying, guys? The ring girls. TDC, focus. You're talking about referees. You're not talking about the girls. We're about to give a list of referees. Focus and save your thoughts. Save those nasty thoughts for a future video. All right, let me bring it back in. So my list of favorite referees in the UFC is going to start with Mr. Big John McCarthy. Big John McCarthy has been there from day one. Dude has been there. Dude is very experienced. Dude went through all the stages of the UFC, from being unsanctioned to finally being sanctioned. And he's a big ass authority on mixed martial arts. I believe he has a podcast now. Can't remember what it's called, because I see clips from it here and there where he's giving his opinions. And for the most part, when Big John is giving an opinion, who I usually don't have anything to counter, or I don't have anything to say. Typically, when Big John McCarthy is giving an opinion on something that has happened in MMA, I don't have anything to oppose or any points to counter what he's saying. Pretty good authority, or either that or I'm pretty dumb in MMA. One or the other. But my one is Big John McCarthy. I really appreciate him. The next one I appreciate so well, especially for his professionalism, Jason Herzog. Very cool, very calm, very collected. Rarely makes a mistake. Rarely. But very, very good at his job. More often than not, when Jason Herzog goes into the ring to officiate, you know that if he makes a call, there's probably a 98% chance that the call is fair and right and professional. And I like him for that. I'm always very confident that I'm not going to have any ref issues whenever I see Jason officiating a match. Never really seen anything. And I'm sure there might be a few out there, a few examples. Just off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone. But if you guys have any you'd like to share, sure, shoot. I'd be more than willing to agree or disagree with you in the comment section. But Jason Herzog, he's the man. My next on the list is the no-nonsense Keith Peterson. You probably don't know the name, but you most certainly know the face if you're an MMA fan. Keith Peterson, he doesn't play no games. Keith Peterson is as professional to the T as you can get. I also, like Jason Herzog, I also see less errors from Keith Peterson. More often than not, the calls he makes, especially when he's going in to break up and declare a TKO, 98% accuracy for Keith Peterson. He deserves his flowers as well. And I'd like to see him officiate more matches, especially title matches. I know he's done some in the past, but I feel like he deserves to do a lot more title matches than even our man Herb Dean. But hey, next on my list is Mr. Marc Goddard. Marc Goddard is also a pretty good referee. However, on this list, I would say that the referee who gets it wrong for the most part is Marc Goddard. Right? And I know, again, the pressure of the work is not an easy job. It really not. And even though Marc's bad calls, I would say, range anywhere between 10 to about 17%. 10 to about 17%. Typically, I would rate Marc Goddard's calls as not exactly fantastic. I still have to acknowledge that he gets it right more than he gets it wrong. Very vocal referee. The moment they mess up, he's very quick to tell them. especially the fighters. He doesn't care. He's a no-nonsense ref too. He really is. It's just he gets a few things wrong sometimes. And I understand, again, the pressure of it all. But on my list, so far of everybody I've called, I would say he's the one who gets some of it wrong more than the rest, okay? But all due respect to him, that work is not easy, and he still has my respect as well for doing the work that he does and ensuring that he gets more right than he gets them wrong. Next on my list is Mr. Dan Mirgaliotta, the bald dude with the beard. Dan Mirgaliotta, he's like a different version of Big John McCarthy. I think the fighters just low-key respect Dan Mirgaliotta. Takes no crap. He takes no crap. And he's also pretty good. He does get some wrong, but it's minuscule. And there really is no perfect referee. Let me just point that out. There is no perfect referee on this list. It's just some get things right more than others. Right? And Dan, even though his success rate is pretty high, there's still a decent amount of decisions he's taking that are questionable. You know, somewhere I feel like he stopped the fights a bit too early or too soon. But again, how do you find the balance between fighter safety and actually giving the fighter a chance to defend themselves in those moments, you know? That's why I'm not going in hard on any of these referees that I'm speaking about today, you know? So, but big respect also to Mr. Dan Mirgaliotta. Have a good one. Next on the list, he's quite a character. Mike Beltran. You guys know Mike Beltran? That's my dude with the beard ass, like the beard, that is such a, that's all I think about is the beard. Right? Who the hell has a beard like that? Have you seen the things that man can do with that beard? So funny. So funny. But on a side note, turns out, guys, I'll give you a personal story, not personal story, just personal information about Mike Beltran. Mike Beltran is a sheriff. I think in his personal life, he is actually a sheriff. He's a law enforcement officer, I believe. So I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I'm not surprised that he's a no-nonsense referee, because he probably practiced that in his own personal life in his second job. But he's a good referee too. Never really seen him make a bad decision. I just have not. Again, if I'm open to people pointing these things out to me, because I have never seen it. And these are so far my best referees. I look forward to them going into the ring. Whenever they are officiating a match, I'm actually very confident. And there are a new set of referees coming up now. I think, can't really remember the names, but I think one of them is Mark Smith, I believe, the bald dude. I'm not sure, but I believe that's him. He's now coming into my consciousness. And a couple of others where I'm like, oh, okay. Yes, he's spicing it up, trying to mix in a few, or maybe the athletic commissions rather, are trying to mix in a few new referees. And I see it and I understand it. It takes all the pressure away from the guys who I've just called on the list. But guys, before I go, and before I end this video, before I end this beautiful love letter to the referees of the UFC and combat sports and MMA, it will be a travesty. It will be a crime for me to leave and end this video without mentioning the GOAT of referees, the greatest referee to ever do it in mixed martial arts, the greatest referee walking the face of the earth, the one, the only, weighing in at 199 pounds, Mario Yamasaki. I miss Mario Yamasaki. I really miss that dude. And I'm a casual. Don't get it wrong. I know a lot of people will say, oh, Yamasaki is not qualified. Yamasaki makes bad calls. Yamasaki leaves fighters in there for too long. Bro, but tell me, in the last couple of years, since Yamasaki was banned by the UFC, tell me you don't miss Mario Yamasaki sometimes when fights need to go just a little bit further for us to be sure who really won. Sometimes we need that little extra 3 to 5 seconds. We need that little extra 5 to 15 seconds. And the only man who delivers that is Mario Yamasaki. And I really miss him. I really wish Dana could just give that dude a chance, man. Give that dude a chance. But if you think about it, right? Mario Yamasaki probably made terrible calls, if I'm being honest. Mario Yamasaki made very terrible calls for maybe less than 5% of his entire fight career. Oh, sorry, his entire officiating career. Less than 5%. Now, while I know that could be all it takes to have a fatal injury, done on any fighter, but nothing really happened. No fighters ever had been, severely or fatally injured under his watch. But no fighter will complain. There was never one time I've seen that any fighter complained that the ref did not give them enough time to recover, or the ref took them out too early under Mario Yamasaki's watch. That has to account for something. Not a single fighter I have seen, and I might be wrong, but I've never seen it. I have never seen any fighter say, Mario Yamasaki stopped my fight too quick. And neither have I ever seen any fighter say, Mario Yamasaki stopped my fight too late. I believe the fight where he was the final straw, I believe. There was a fight between Valentina Shevchenko, I believe, one of her fights. And Shevchenko had her opponent on the ground and she just kept bashing her. And Yamasaki let it go on. Yeah, listen, try to give the girl a chance. That's it. The man was trying to give the girl a chance. But apparently, the press, other fighters, Dana White, the Athletic Commission, they all went in on the Mario and they said, oh, well, we're going to ban him and he's never going to officiate another fight in the UFC. And probably, I don't even think he's officiated another fight anywhere else. Maybe he has, I don't know, never followed his career after he left the UFC. But I mean, come on, guys. I understand grace. And I understand you can't make errors because lives are at stake and safety is paramount. But nobody died under his watch. I mean, nobody died under his watch. That is food for thought. Okay? It's food for thought. Nobody died under his watch. I know we don't have to wait till anybody dies, but Mario's success rate way surpasses his failures. And why is he being punished for that? A case for Mario Yamasaki, people. A case for the greatest referee to have ever graced the MMA stage, ever. It's my man. Mario Yamasaki is the man. That's my dude, man. I miss him. And I love all the memes. The Mario Yamasaki memes on the internet. Oh boy. We lost a great one. We lost a great one. That was quite a character, you know? But hey, I'm gonna leave it here for now. I hope you guys have enjoyed this beautiful expression of love towards these unsung heroes in our beautiful sports of mixed martial arts and combat sports. And I hope that this gives us a better perspective as to how these guys make their decisions and why we need to cut them some slack sometimes. Because nobody really speaks for them. But today I just did. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and engage. I'll see you guys on the next one.